Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Burrian, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and John Clark. And this is the Conservative Five, an online TV production of Liberty Nation News. Of all the departments in all of the U.S. government, I have an inkling that the Department of Education is shivering in its timbers now that Trump will return to the Resolute desk on January 20. His campaign pledge was clear: eliminate the Department of Education and put the states back in charge. So let's start this conversation with a question. Can he and should he do away with the Department of Ed? And I have a feeling, Dave, you might have some opinion on this.
Well, we have to remember that the Department of Education, although it was a fact-finding organization back in the mid-1800s, but as far as being an established cabinet-level organization, that took place in 1980. But a number of presidents, have seen the Department of Education as pretty much superfluous to government. And most recently, it's simply been an arm of the Progressive Teachers Union. It has become a propaganda machine, as way as most people see it, for all manner of, woke nonsense. The Department of Education has never been particularly popular with the states, and the department has a habit of putting conditions on taxpayer money when it's given back to the states that only drive state educational policies. And I think Trump has seen that as being very divisive and unproductive, especially when the federal government mandates a policy for the states but doesn't give them any money to carry it out, and it has to come from within. It's just been an organization that has never actually lived up to its press releases. The 8-point plan, if number one, getting rid of the Department of Education, is possible, the other 7 don't matter. Also, we have to realize, too, that, getting rid of a department that was established through the legislature is going to have to be disestablished through the legislature. So if Trump is going to do this, he needs to get it done.
So, there's a lot of moving parts here. I don't know how you would even start with getting rid of the Department of Education. But Andrew, you have 2 children in school. They're in Canada. It's a whole different ball of wax. And from where you sit, what do you think about the elimination of the Department of Education here in the United States?
Well, I've followed the Department of Education for a long time. I've looked at all the data, and this whole top-down approach isn't working. And as Dave alluded to, it's become an extension of the woke teachers union. It's absolutely disgraceful. You mentioned earlier about the Trump's 8-point plan. One of them is a focus on eliminating the administration. If you look at the numbers over the years, let's say over the last 15 years, it's really fascinating. Student enrollment has been on the decline. New teachers joining the labor force has been flat. But the one area that has seen a dramatic increase has been, guess what? Administration. I think it's about 80% over the last 20 years. What the heck is that? How is that going to support your education? And it makes sense, too, of why it's not working. Look at the numbers. The U.S. spends $1 trillion a year on K-12 education. That's about $17,000 per pupil. The next highest country is Luxembourg. So the only other country spending more than the U.S. is Luxembourg, between $22,000 and $27,000. Now, you look at the numbers of the results, which Clobber and Kelly Ballard did on the pages of LibertyNation.com, the U.S. is ranked 28th out of 37th of the OECD nations on math. In science, the U.S. is ranked 12th. So you're not getting you're getting a horrible return on your investment, and the only thing you're focusing on, are the 2S LGBTQIAP as opposed to the ABCs. It's absolutely disgraceful, the state of education, especially when the U.S. is one of the top in the world before 1979 on providing kids the good education.
Professor John Clark, there are going to be hurdles to overcome to get this done. Who's going to squawk the loudest? And, what's going to be the big holdup?
Well, I think there are a bunch of dynamics here at play, and our speakers have alluded to some of them. One is that this is a creature of the legislature, so the Trump administration will ultimately have to go back to Congress to totally eliminate the Department of Education. And I think that's been hyperbole. I don't think there's a plan to actually completely eliminate it, but to maybe rein it in a little bit. We see teachers go on strike. At what point are we going to see parents and children going on strike? As Andrew's outlined, our nation's educational accomplishments in core skills are declining. The achievement gap has widened in direct proportionate to how much money we've given to the federal government to administer on behalf of the states. So it's kind of a states' rights issue. In fact, 9% of the U.S. budget for K through 12 goes through the Department of Education, and they control 90% of the regulatory oversight that they use to condition states to receive basically their own money back. As far as the unions complaining about is the creation of 1980, as Dave indicated, what was given can be taken away. The unions have demonstrated self-interest, ideological inclinations, and many parents are saying that this is a reason why our core reading and writing and other skills are declining across the nation. It seems like the more money we spend in some states like Vermont here, the poorer results we get. So in the end, a big part of this push is going to be to improve private education. I think it was in a meeting with Betsy DeVos, the term rocket fuel private schools will be done. And this is the opposite of what Vice President candidate Tim Walz wanted to do, where many states are shutting down or undermining private schools. So a big push for this will be to just allow states and parents and students to seek alternatives that actually function, because the larger the institution, it seems, the more disappointing the outcome. And that's the broader theme, I think, of the administration, is cutting down bureaucratic waste that's not benefiting Americans.
Graham, John Clark just made a really good point here when he says, when are the parents and the students going to go on strike? I think they did, and I think they have, and I think there's more people going into alternative instead of public schools, alternative classrooms, homeschools. Graham, what's going on there?
Well, yeah, this is true. I mean, it is a trend, and I think it's a trend that I would imagine probably most Democrats who are, because the Democratic Party is most closely aligned with the teachers' unions. The teachers' unions are, by the way, massive donors to Democratic candidates. But anyway, the thing is, I believe Congress will never get rid of the Department of Education. There are too many even Republicans who wouldn't go down that road, and I'm not sure why, but if you want to
makes them feel kind of queasy.
Yeah, I mean, if they're just unnerved by the idea of having no Department of Education, what's that mean? There'll be no schools anymore. And by the way, that's what a lot of left wingers actually believe, that there will simply be no more schools if you get rid of the Department of Education. But here's the thing: that the way you kill that particular department is a two-pronged thing. And number one is that the Republicans in Congress and the man sitting behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office, they have to have the steel, and they have to have the guts to squeeze the department financially and just say, no, we're not signing off on massive amounts of money for the Department of Education. And Trump should say, I'm not signing a bill that has massive amounts of money for that department in it. And then the other prong of that, apart from the financial squeeze, is very simply going back to what John said, is the striking, is basically the teachers, parents, and children simply refusing to comply and just going to get their education elsewhere. And that's how you get rid of the DOE, because otherwise it's here forever.
Well, I just don't see it happening, and I do think that they could run it a lot better. It's kind of run like PBS. It's just out there doing nothing that important and slowly trickling through the system. Anyway, I wish Donald Trump good luck on that endeavor. I don't believe he'll get her done. I do think, however, we may be able to trim it down and we can hang on to some of our budget. But there's lots of news and moving parts as we barrel into the last weeks of this year. And as Trump flushes out this administration, we will be here to explain who they are and why they are here. Thanks for watching, and thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Now, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for the latest news and commentary. Your choice for free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.